Hi guys, my name is Kate. I am the editor of Knit Now magazine. I'm really excited to introduce a little interview that I did with Renée Callahan, also known as EastLondonKnit. She was one of the winners of our Knitter of the Year competition last year, and as part of that she got the opportunity to curate a collection within Knit Now. She chose the subject of Pacific Northwest for her inspiration, so I'm going to chat to her about that. But in the meantime, this is the issue that it's in. This is one of the garments in the collection. I really hope you enjoy it. So over to Renée. Hi, my name is Kate. I'm the editor of Knit Now magazine.
Hi, I'm Renée, also known as EastLondonKnit. I should say my last name, eh?
Yeah.
Callahan. I'm Renée Callahan. Hi.
We're getting personal.
I'm a professional.
Yeah.
Watch me work here.
So we are here today in the Knit Now studio because we have been shooting for a few issues of Knit Now, including one that you have curated for us.
I have, which is very exciting, and even designed a piece for it.
Yes, which you are ably modelling.
I know, I was going to say, it'll be a surprise, but maybe it won't be a surprise now.
So yeah, we are up in sunny Stockport. Thank you so much for making
it was a pleasure. I was really, really excited about it when my alarm went off at 5 something this morning. I was like, yes, this is the best idea. But it has been a lot of fun since I've been here, and thank you for inviting me.
Oh no, it's absolutely our pleasure. So I thought start off with at the beginning, I guess, asking you how you got into knitwear. I know it's the kind of question that everyone asks you, but it's the question that I think people always want to know.
Yeah, I love asking that question because it's never a direct route, is it? It's
nobody ever has the same answer.
Yeah, it's not something you think that's what you're going to do and then you go to university and you do it. It's never like that, and it certainly wasn't like that for me. I am a failed art historian. I studied history of art at university and had imagined I would go on to some scholastic amazing thing, and didn't. I just didn't manage that. And by accident, I ended up on a course, a design course, fashion design with knitwear. And it's just one of those things that I fell into, and once I was there, I really loved the technical aspects of the whole thing, and although it wasn't taught on the course, I really wanted to learn how to hand knit, just because that seemed like, the clues in the title. Yeah. Why wouldn't I want to learn how to do that? And once I did learn, that was it. Like, I didn't want to do anything else. I decided, and I've never regretted that. It's always been just such a wonderful physical thing to do, and to have something at the end of my day's work to show for it, and that was it. I just had to spend the rest of my days doing that, and so far I've managed that.
So what have you been working on recently? Obviously you've been working on this piece for us.
Yes,
but I know you keep yourself quite busy with other things.
I do. I try to regularly come out with designs which sometimes works really well and sometimes doesn't. I came out with a collection at the beginning of the year, which took me so long. It took me ages and ages. I had this idea for a collection when I got to the point in my stash where it overwhelmed me. There were all these little bits of yarn, and there were so many things that I couldn't really deal with anymore. I had to come up with a plan, and so my plan was I will design a collection that incorporates all the little bits. I could just have a bitty collection. And that was an idea, and I thought that was a really good idea, and it would be really straightforward, but it turned out it took me a little bit longer. And I finally came out with Recollection, and it was so kind of wrapped up in the memory of those little bits of yarn, different projects, previous things that I had done, that kind of became the focus of the collection itself, that I wanted to incorporate those memories and make them into something new. not just the physical thing, but the emotional thing, the historical bit. And so Recollection came about, which was the last collection, and then individual patterns. I'm always trying to, with more or less success, get out individual patterns whenever possible. This just happened to be a lovely commission break in that in that scheme of things.
Yeah, so you, I think I'm right in saying mostly self-publish?
I do, yeah.
Rather than working to commission. What do you find is sort of the benefits of each type of working?
Well, there's this whole thing about deadlines. Deadlines are really hard. Hand knitting is, it's a thing that takes its own time, and things don't always go to plan, so you can spend a lot of time working on something. And then, actually, you just have to rip all that out and, start again or whatever it may be. So there are pros and cons to these things. So having a deadline is really motivating. It means I get something done, which is great. And I do actually think that is one of the benefits of doing commission work, that I'm reminded that I can finish something on time or come very close. Sometimes it's just very close. Whereas in my own work, these things, they get pushed back a little bit and then a little bit more. And, it can be, as is the case with the collection that I was working on. It was, maybe a year later than I had anticipated it being. So, had I been working for someone else, that wouldn't have happened. Yeah. That would have come out when it was supposed to, and that would have been okay. But sometimes there's, joy in the meandering as well. Having both of those things is not a bad thing, I think. Yeah. It's also different because, working toward someone else's general idea, someone's mood board, for example. You come out with a lovely mood board and it gives me all kinds of ideas and inspiration that I wouldn't have, really gone down those routes. I wouldn't have, designed this on my own. It was because you thought... Yeah,
so we sort of talk back and forth around different themes that we could work on. The theme for this issue that we're working on is Pacific Northwest. So do you want to say a little something about that?
Yeah, certainly. You can probably tell from my accent that I'm not local. I'm not local either to this area, Stockport, nor to London, which is where I live. I am from Seattle, and I came over a long, long time ago. Many years I've been here now. But I think there's something about being an immigrant that means I've come and developed a different relationship with my kind of homeland, that I identify a lot more with it now than I ever did while I was there. And so when Kate gave me the opportunity to kind of come up with a theme and work with her on this, it kind of seemed evident to me, like, oh yeah, that's really important to me. This idea of the Pacific Northwest and the mountains and the water, the environment and the colors and the traditions. There are, native knitting traditions and things that I've never really interacted with or used, really. And so it was an opportunity to kind of think about my own background and where I come from, and the influences. They're almost subconscious, you know. It's not necessarily something that I really, I never thought of it when I was there. I never really identified with that as a local, but now I think that's definitely part of me and where I come from. It seems clear now. It wasn't at the time.
And coincidentally, as it happened, we're both going to be there.
I know, that's amazing.
So I'm kind of excited about that. So one of the other pieces in the collection that's been designed by Maddie Harvey is this really beautiful jumper which draws on, like, say, the mountains and those kinds of shapes and those things. There'll be pictures soon enough. But I'm going to have one myself that's... So I'm looking forward to taking it to the place that it inspired it.
The advantages of being an editor and having power over knitters.
Yeah, I need to clarify that this isn't a business trip. I have paid for this trip myself. We're not quite that generous with the expenses.
That would be amazing, though. Yeah, we definitely need to do a location shot for the Pacific Northwest episode.
Yeah,
I think that we could have swung that.
Yeah, we can fly.
We need Mount Rainier in the background.
So one other thing that I guess I have to ask you while you're here is we've talked about hand knit, but you are of many people I know, you're one of the biggest proponents of machine knitting as well. So how do you find the difference between the two? When do you turn to the machine and when do you turn to your needles?
So when I went to fashion college, mostly we did machine knitting. That's what we learned to do, and there are some obvious reasons for that, because if you're working in industry, you don't have time to spend weeks hand knitting something. Often designers come and they want a bit of knitwear for their collection in the last minute. Often they think what my collection is missing is some knitwear, and so machines just make sense. And we learned to knit on machines, domestic machines and industrial machines. And when I graduated, I had a studio and I had knitting machines in the studio and mostly did machine knitting. The benefits of that are evident, in terms of speed, but it's also a different product. It's a little bit like apples and oranges.
Yeah.
The finished product is different, but obviously the process is very different. You can knit a sweater in a day on a machine, and it's graft. You're sitting there, and it's physical labor. And I think that for me, from my point of view now, one of the biggest differences is that no matter how fast you knit by hand, you're going to spend a lot of time doing it, and the process matters.
Yeah.
Some people say that they're like, process knitters or product knitters, and what's important to them is either but no matter how fast you knit, you're going to spend a lot of time on the process. And so I think that that's absolutely part of it. That's something that you need to consider when you're writing a pattern, for example, about how pleasurable the actual activity is, that you've made it something enjoyable for the knitter to do. And obviously that's not really a concern with machine knitting. You just want the thing. I think that that's the biggest difference from my point of view. But also when you're working something flat versus something that's sort of organically growing in the round, that's also a very different conceptual idea, and I think you end up with things with very different fit, because the way that you go into something has lots of implications in terms of the end product that you end up with. So when you're thinking of things like pieces that have to be seamed and are knit flat, you can't really design the same thing that you're imagining being knit in the round, or that is going to be knit by hand slowly in pieces, even if those are seamed as well. There's just something different, I think, that happens in a designer brain for those things. And I have to admit that I do not knit on a machine as often as I used to, certainly. I do really physically just enjoy knitting by hand, and it feels like work to sit down in front of a machine and like, okay, I gotta churn something out now. So I occasionally I do it if there's a thin yarn and I need some sleeves, and I can find a way to churn them out really quickly and then attach them to my hand knit sweater. I'm not saying I'm above that. I'm not above that. But mostly it is by hand.
I do see the temptation with, like, if you've got something that's like acres and acres of stocking stitch, it's like, if I could machine it, I could just skip this bit. But it's about the process. It's about, you've invested the money in the yarn. For me, I do that mostly because I enjoy the feeling of it going through my fingers and things like that. And I think for me, a lot of the time, the reason I love patterns from independent designers and people who knit their samples themselves is you can tell that someone has thought about the process of knitting, of how pleasurable it will be to pick up those stitches around that armhole or whatever it is, that because there are just like little things that are just like really satisfying as a knitter, of like just doing a little section of short rows or something like that, that I think folks who don't necessarily knit their own samples, so like the big design houses and places like that, they can come up with really, really beautiful garments where you get incredible finished objects, but they aren't always as pleasurable to knit as someone who's as something from someone who's actually knitted the sample themselves, or who comes from that angle, I think.
Yeah, I am prejudiced. I mean, obviously, I am like totally. I am only going to agree with that, aren't I? Like, it's in my interest, but yeah, I think I do think that there is something, and you know, people sometimes have, in one of my classes about finishing or something, brought something to me where someone designed it and didn't necessarily knit it themselves. Yeah. And so there are things in that pattern which I think, oh, you wouldn't have done that. Yeah. You wouldn't have made someone else do that. That's a bit of a shame, because, you know, the thing that brings people back to knitting again and again, I think, is not only having something that they want at the end of the process, but enjoying it while they make it. Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
So that's all of my questions.
Yeah. So you want to tell me all the things. So tell me first.
Thanks very much. We will leave all of the relevant links for anything that we've mentioned, because we've been chatting for a while. I can't even remember what we've chatted about. And we should probably mention as well, because obviously you've got your podcast, you've got a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I do. I totally do.
So go over and watch her.
Yeah, so well. The EastLondonKnit podcast is also on YouTube, and I chat with lovely people like Kate, some industry people, and sometimes it's just me going on and on. And you know, you get both. And EastLondonKnit on Instagram as well.
So go check her out, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Kate. Thank you.
Bye. So thanks so much to Renée for coming all the way up to Stockport to shoot her beautiful garment and chat with me and you guys. You can find her pattern along with loads of other amazing designs from our design team in issue 95 of Knit Now, which is this one. It comes in a box, which is in the shops in the UK from the 2nd of November. It's also available online from moremags.com and in digital edition through the Pocket Mags app. Great, well, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you again next time.